Hi everyone, my name is Jake Sharp. Thanks for coming out tonight. It's going to be a fairly short one, about 30 minutes. Just going to try to give you an idea of what this project is all about. It's going to be an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign, and it's called Profound Studio. First though, I want to thank Ken Gregory and 800 East for having me tonight. Several months back, actually it's probably like 6 months back now, I came to Ken to run this idea by him, see what he thought, and to get his feedback. Turns out he likes it, and thought it may even have uses here at 800 East, which I found flattering because I just love this studio. So thanks again, Ken, and thanks 800 East, the nicest studio in Atlanta, hands down, especially this live room. This live room is very inspiring to me. So we're going to real quickly head over to the Indiegogo page and play the campaign video for you. This will give you a broad overview of what it's all about, and then we can get down to some more specifics, and I'll let you know what it's going to be like to be a pro on the site after.
Hi everyone, my name is Jake Sharp. I'm a jazz guitarist, a composer, and a certified music junkie. I've been playing music for 26 years. I love the process of recording, I love innovation, and that's why I'm starting Profound Studio. Profound Studio is a website where home recording enthusiasts can come to hire professionals to help them with their recording projects, or to take lessons so they can learn how to do it all themselves. When I first started working on this project, I took a look at the trend over the last 10 to 15 years that's led away from commercial studios and toward home recording. Recording software is easier to use and less expensive than ever, giving an entire generation of musicians unprecedented control over their own projects. But something was lost along the way, and that's knowledge. To fill this knowledge gap, I'm going straight to the source, and that's pros. The pros at Profound Studio will consist of instrumentalists. They can provide difficult solos and virtuosic parts, singers to provide backing vocals or lead vocals, studio pros who will have a lot of experience with mixing and mastering. They'll also have a lot of really nice gear that you can use to sweeten your tracks. Commercial studios will also be on hand to provide acoustically treated rooms for doing live tracks, especially drums. And on top of all these, we'll have the educators. They will conduct live weekly classes of different sizes from 1 to 40 students, all with real-time communication via screen sharing and video chat. So to make the process more clear, let me take you through a small project step by step. Let's say you're working on a demo in your home studio and the mix is giving you trouble. You log on to Profound Studio and take a look through the pages of mixing pros to find someone who fits your style. You send them a project request and you meet up on the interface where you upload your tracks. Now, the interface is going to be the hub for real-time communication, and it's also going to be a place to load, view, and discuss your tracks with the pro face-to-face. Okay, so the pro then downloads the tracks to his computer and he gets to work. If you have questions for the pro during the project, you can meet up on their desktop using screen sharing, watch them working, and give them suggestions as to what you need. Once the work's done to your satisfaction, you pay the pro, you add them to your friends list, and you continue with your project. So the system behind the lessons is much simpler. All lessons are live, and we have 3 different class sizes. First, we have mentoring. These are 1-hour single student classes with screen sharing and video chat. And these will be for the serious student who wants to learn all there is to know about audio production. Next, we have master classes. These are also 1-hour classes with up to 10 students that'll be a more social experience with live Q&A throughout the lesson. And last, we have clinics. These will be fun 30-minute classes with up to 40 students in a streaming video format with text chat and Q&A after the lesson. So that's my project. Thanks for checking out my video, and thanks for believing in Profound Studio. I know that this project can work, but it can't work without your help. So thanks again. Look down below for a little bit more info, and remember, whether it's one track or one-on-one lessons, you'll find your pro at Profound Studio.
All right, so there's the video. Now, let's get down to a little bit more specifics on what it's going to be like to be a pro on the site. So, first, here's a little mock-up of the home page. And this is where you're going to start off. But first, let's talk about the trend. And that is the ongoing trend that continues to lead away from commercial studios and toward home recording. I'm sure quite a few of you have dealt with this trend, and probably in a less than positive way. When I first started working on Profound Studio, this trend was foremost in my mind, and I really began to see it in a new light. I thought about what was missing in the new landscape of audio recording, and what I realized was nothing was missing. The basics of what's needed to make great recordings haven't changed, they've only shifted around a bit. The knowledge still rests with the pro. The need for knowledge still rests with the client. The more folks turn to home studios, the greater this knowledge gap becomes, and the more the need for pros to fill that gap. Home recorders have been given a very powerful set of tools in the form of audio production software, but they still need help to get the best results. And this opens up new possibilities in online audio production and in education. And with all the home studios that are out there and all the different ways of launching music into the world via the internet, that's a lot of help to be given. And I feel like we just need to come up with new ways of bringing all these loose ends back together, and all of this equals a silver lining to this dark cloud. But one of those ways is Profound Studio. So that's kind of the philosophy behind the site. Now we can get into some more of the mechanics and the population by talking about the types of users we're going to have. First, we'll have home recorders. These will be beginner to intermediate users that will pretty much need all phases of the pro's help that we're offering on the site. They'll be working mostly in the box, that is in a digital realm, with more samples than live instruments. And on the plus side, a lot of these users, the younger ones, are going to represent a new client group that really doesn't find its way into commercial studios at the moment. Next, we have DIY users. These users are going to be a bit older, a bit more experienced, and be working in a drastically different way than the home recorders, and that's with a lot more live material and a lot more live instrumentation. These are the musicians who record their band's demos and record live performances. They're going to need the help of mixing and mastering pros. Basically, these guys are going to need help cleaning up good performances with less than stellar audio. I think that reamping may be a popular technique here as well, but we'll kind of have to see. And next we have the students. The students on Profound Studio will be looking for new ways to learn audio production, looking for ways that are more convenient, less expensive, but they're also looking for online content that is more live and less of a sort of canned, pre-recorded kind of class. Next, we have the types of pros that are going to be on the site. First off, all pros will be independent. They're not in any way employees of Profound Studio, and they're going to set their own rates. That sounds dangerous. Sounds pretty dangerous, but I'm relying on the competition within the site and the fact that the workflow method that's been built into Profound Studio is going to be smooth and easy, and I'm relying on these two things basically to keep rates lower than they are in the real-world facilities. So first we have instrumentalists and singers. These two I put together because they're largely going to be working in the same fashion, and that is track by track. Single track contributions largely being solos and difficult instrumental parts. Backing vocals will be probably pretty huge, and some lead vocals as well. These are basically the virtuosos of the site. Next, we have the studio pros. This is a bit of a catch-all term, but it's intended to include engineers, producers, mixers, mastering studios, basically all phases of post-production. These will be the pros who have the most experience in live and real studios, and they're also going to have a lot of nice outboard gear, particularly analog outboard gear, that clients otherwise wouldn't really have access to, and they can use them to sweeten their tracks. And commercial studios can sign up here as single entities and offer almost everything that they offer in their real-world facilities, especially acoustically treated rooms, especially drums, especially for drums, but also probably strings and horn parts as well. Anything where samples just won't cut it. And next we have the consultants. This is a recently added type of pro that, as you see, it wasn't even on the video there. I recently added these guys when I realized just how much of a networking was going to be going on between the pros and the site. I created a thing that's called production teams, and I'll show you a little bit later as we talk about the interface and the actual sort of meeting of the minds that happens there. But the consultants are the overseer of projects, and their job will be to build networks of pros to offer the client for every stage of their productions. So basically, functions somewhat like an artistic director, sort of. That's how I've been thinking of them. And fourth, we have the educators. These will be the best of the best pros on the site because they're going to need to be very technically skilled, but then also have the persona and the, say, the patient temperament that really makes for a great instructor. We probably all had great teachers in our time, and we all know that that's one of those qualities. Those will be the guys we'll be looking for under educators. So all pros will be thoroughly vetted by Profound Studio and can be listed in as many of these categories. These aren't firm categories. This is just giving a general idea of the kind of work that's being done on the site. So if you're a terrific instrumentalist and you happen to be really good with mixing and with mastering, and you're really good with students, then you can sign up for basically all phases of pro help on the site, and obviously then you can boost your income potential. So that's population. Now let's talk about the education. Talk about how the classes are going to go on the site. All lessons will be live and with real-time communication, and there'll be 3 different class sizes. First, we have mentoring. These are the most traditional version. It's going to be 1-hour lessons with a one-on-one format with screen sharing and video chat. This is basically like popular Skype lessons that are on the internet now. I felt like I really needed to add these and to offer them because I have no doubt that there are quite a few people who really learn best in this format and that don't really learn that well in the sort of larger groups, which will be the next thing. That's the master classes. These are actually my favorite in terms of the potential that they have. These are also 1-hour lessons, but this time it's up to 10 students. And we're going to use screen sharing and voice chat on this one for communication. Point being, with all this communication, using existing technology to make the site that much easier and, frankly, less expensive to build. On the master classes, we're going to have, it's going to be a social experience because you'll have 10 students all asking questions during the lesson, and we'll have a Q&A system that will indicate when a student has raised their hand, so to speak. And there's also going to be a pretty cool thing where that exists currently in screen sharing software, where the pro can, if he chooses to, allow the students to control his mouse. And I think that's just a pretty cool thing that, like I said, it exists now in screen sharing. and for when there's something that's a physical manipulation of the track, like a fade or crossfade, something like that, that they can actually give them control of their mouse and guide them along on how to do it. I think between that and the communication and the number of students in this mode, this one's going to have a real in-the-room feel to it. And as it turns out, it also has the best potential for income as a pro. So that if you conduct, say you're conducting one class per week, that's 1 hour of your time per week, 10 students, around $40 per head, it should add up pretty quickly. Next we have the clinics. These are a real departure. This is going to be fun, 30-minute classes with up to 40 students in a streaming video format. Now, if you know about streaming video on the internet with, a little sidebar text chat, you'll know that it's a bit of a fun and frenetic environment, and this is intended to be a much less serious mode. This is sort of the jump in, jump out mode with a paid admission. On this one, the Q&A and text Q&A will be after the lesson, and the chat is in text. Basically, think about this one as a conversation between 40 musicians with about tips, tricks, and gear, with an instructor there to guide things and to set the tone. So classes and lessons will focus on a given subject from beginning to end. That doesn't mean Profound Studio is creating any sort of curriculum per se. The pros and instructors will create their own content, but the idea is that you can't just have slapdash thrown together classes. It has to have some coherence to it. So if you begin a mixing class, you need to continue that mixing class to the end. It just makes sense to go that way. So the education end of things on the site is one of the most recent additions to the overall concept. And I'm really excited about particularly the larger classes, because they're unlike anything that's offered online currently, even by schools like Berkeley or Full Sail, and that's because they're live. It's easy enough to see why schools like that can't offer live lessons on the internet, and to them, and it's because to them it means having an army of staff and instructors on hand at all sorts of ungodly hours. But for a concept like this, like Profound Studio, it simply means having a large, engaged population of pros who are ready to teach. And there's a future thing that I'm planning to approach schools with Profound Studio to offer that as their online live lessons platform. But that will be after the population gets to be nice and large. So that's the education end of things. Now we can go to the recording side and give you an idea of the sort of the day-by-day, blow-by-blow, how that's going to go. Okay, so let's work through a sample project to give you an idea of the mechanics and how all of that work. So let's say a potential client logs on to Profound Studio looking for a pro for their project. This is the page that they'll be checking out. This is called the Pro Pages. These are pros categorized and searchable through tags. If you know about search engines on the internet, you'll know that tags are what allow you to narrow down and find just exactly what it is you're looking for. And we're going to have a very, very large list of tags that pros can choose from themselves, because they know better than anyone what they bring to the table. That's going to allow them to find just the perfect clients for their skill set. So tags like gear, style, age, credits, and gender, whatever they feel is important and makes them stand out from the rest of the pros. So once the client finds their pro, they check out their profile page. Every pro on Profound Studio will have a profile page, and it's going to have the typical stuff like a bio, clips of their playing or the productions, gear list, photos. This will also be customizable. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to have videos here as well, but I'll have to ask the tech guys about that because obviously that's a big, big hog on resources on a site like this. So everyone on Profound Studio, that is clients and pros alike, will have an inbox for sending and receiving messages. And at this point, the client sends a project request to the pro describing the project and including a couple of sample tracks to give them an idea of what it's all about. A word about the messaging system, we're going to have built-in scheduling. Basically, this is another one of those workflow points, and I'll point these out as I go along. There's several points that workflow. It's very, very big in everything that's trying to be done here, and I've tried to highlight those and make it all nice and smooth. So here, with all of the messaging, is built in a scheduling system. So at this point, if the pro decides to take on the project, he sends the client a message requesting a meetup on the interface. And this is the interface. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road. This is the heart of almost everything. It's the hub for all the real-time communication. It's also where you view and discuss the tracks in real time with the client and win them over and win their business, the client wooing process. It's going to include a video chat and screen sharing and a system for taking notes about the tracks, including synced audio notes. Again, I think that's going to improve workflow, especially once the pro gets those kind of tracks onto his machine and the client has already added audio notes as to what he needs. This is also where the high quality audio is going to be located. Obviously, with all the different communications that we have built in, we can't rely on video connections or voice over the internet to provide audio in the quality needed for making decisions about the work that's being done on the site. So that's going to be here. In terms of another workflow bit here, the loading of the tracks during a session to the interface is going to be copy-based. That means that as the pro conducts live sessions with the client, they'll be making the requested changes to the current version that's on their workstation in their studio and loading new copies as they make changes, replacing the old copies. So basically, whatever you see here at any given time is subject to being kicked off with the new copy with all the changes. Again, this means the workflow is smooth. This means you don't have to load your tracks and the client say, well, no, that's not close enough. And then you drag it back down to your computer and you load it down, so on and so forth. Instead, it's just one steady flow of copies that gets kicked off at any given time when a new change comes around. So this all means, of course, there's no third-party DAW to learn, or no third-party software at all, really. What you see on the screen right now, a lot of times when I show folks the interface, they feel like there's actual recording going on here, but that's not actually the case. Tracks and notes is basically what we're going to be seeing here. This is the meetup, this is the face-to-face, where the client tells the pro what they need and makes notes about it. Simple as that. At that point, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So no third-party DAW. Everyone's working in their familiar space in their own studio. That's huge. So there's going to be an invite button, and that's a pretty recent thing that I came up with. This is for when pros need help from other pros. So let's say you're a keyboard pro and you're on a project for a client and they request, out of nowhere, I want a guitar solo. You can click the invite button and peruse down through the guitar pros on the site, find someone who fits well. Or, as I mentioned before, we're going to have networking systems with production teams. So if it's a heavy metal project that you're working on and you belong to a metal production team, then you want to head over there because you know who's in the production team, you know their quality, you know they've got the gear that's needed for the projects being done. Also, as a pro, you can find someone who you know in the real world, bring them on to Profound Studio, have them sign up and get busy, and for doing that, you will get a referral bonus. Of course, the invite button is also there for the client when they need a second set of ears on the project, a friend, bandmate, or a producer, something like that. At this point, if the client is ready to hire the pro, they receive a prompt to pay the pro's deposit. All pros set their own rates, but there will be a set percentage for deposit, probably the standard 50%. At this point, both the client and the pro receive a prompt to set a deadline for the project. This is also crucial because we don't want folks wasting the client's time. So it's going to be an agreed upon deadline for both parties. And this is also the same reason we can't have hourly rates on the site. I wish we could, but that would obviously put the client at a disadvantage in terms of the pro charging for hours that he's not actually working. So basically, the idea is, again, it's workflow, and the smooth workflow design, this is another reason that we can't have hourly rates and that we must keep to a deadline, because the current workflow is set up to where there's as much or little face time with the pro as is requested or required by the client. Ideally, pros will be able to stay very busy on their machines and not have to be consistently on communications with folks. Ideally, we'll be able to work on projects, load them up to the client's inbox and have them check it out, and then we meet back up. Like I say, hopefully there'll be a workflow that's established for the pros where it's tough to say because we don't want to say that you don't want to hang out and work with the client, but we want the pros to be able to keep a regular work schedule and to be able to get their work done. So at this point, the client uploads the project from their computer, the full project, up from their computer to the interface, and the pro downloads it to his machine and he gets to work. When the pro needs to chat with the client during the project, they meet up on his desktop using screen sharing, and the client then can make suggestions as to what he needs on the project or the track at hand. And once the pro has finished the project, he loads it up to the client's inbox and he awaits payment. I know what you're thinking here, but he can't just grab the tracks and run with them because we're going to have something on the order of a digital watermark that's applied to the tracks so that they cannot just grab them and run with them unless they want to present their new songs with bits of silence added to them. So at this point, the client gets another prompt to ask if he's satisfied with the pro's work, and if so, he does pay the remainder of the pro's fee, adds them to their friends list, and then they do a bit of a rating on the pro to show everyone what a great job they did, and they both head out to their next project. So those are the mechanics. There are a fair amount of moving parts that are involved here, but I think it's obvious enough that it's going to flow nice and smoothly at launch, and I'm going to make absolutely sure that it does, actually. So allow me to finish up with my hopes for Profound Studio. You know, when I started this project, I was concerned, and I wondered if professional recording quality and skill were being lost to the convenience of quick and easy software, like so many other things dealing with technology. But as I've worked on it, I've come out at the other end realizing that it's just a shift in the basic rules and methods, and it's far from over. To me, the future of the industry looks brightest when we take these challenges head on and work to find new footing. No doubt when the dust settles from all this change, the landscape will be different, but I believe that the industry will be in a better place for it because all of this technology that's giving us headaches is actually increasing the number of musicians who need the help of pros. So we need to give them a place to meet and give the pros a place to set up shop. And that is Profound Studio. Thanks a lot, everybody. So again, check out Indiegogo.com, top left-hand corner, Indiegogo.com for Profound Studio. And as it happens, it's launching right now. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. I don't even know what I'm going to be getting here. Beer. Thanks for coming, everybody. Seriously, I'm checking this. This is a new page to me. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's posting. It's live. Holy shit. $80,000.